Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for breakfast with Blaha. Today I'm having a Greek yogurt, bananas. All right, I've had a lot of discussion over the last couple months about the problem with vegan diets, carnivore diets, everything else, and I get a bunch of people who chime in from the carnivore side who are claiming you can get everything that you need in your diet from animals. Yeah, that's just simply not true. That's not only not true, it's dangerous advice. You are going to have malnutrition issues if you really believe that. And I am pro meat. Let me be very clear. You guys have seen me eat a lot of beef on camera. You've seen me eat bison and stuff on camera. I'm big on red meat. I like red meat. I don't think red meat should necessarily be our staple every day. These days I only eat it twice a week. Because again, overall health, it's not something we should be eating as our main protein all the time. I think we can make an argument against that. Mainly just due to the saturated fat content. But if it's moderated, we could still do it every day too. I just choose not to. Because our concern is moderating saturated fat. And yes, there's plenty of evidence that too much saturated fat is bad for you. But this idea that you can get everything you need from plants isn't true, or from animals. Because I say the same to vegans, you guys are flat wrong. Also, you're not going to be optimal on only plants. And I'll get to a minute of what I'm not talking. I'm not talking about people who call themselves carnivore, because I know some, who they eat a couple pounds of vegetables a day. Well, you're not doing the carnivore diet. And I don't have a problem with what you're doing. I think your carbs could be a little low, for any form of training. And there's more evidence. That's the reason I've stepped away from even saying keto diets are viable. They're less viable than I thought they were. We got plenty of data showing muscle loss is higher than other diets. Problematic. But you're just doing a lower carb diet heavy on plants. I don't think it's optimal, but it can still be pretty healthy. Right? Be pretty healthy. I don't have an issue with someone which is I'm going to eat a lot of meat, a meat-heavy diet every day, but I'm going to throw a lot of plants in. I'm going to eat lots of vegetables. Okay, that's 100 times better than the standard American diet, right? I can live with that. I don't understand why you think you need to do it, but it's by not that bad, relatively speaking to a lot of other stuff that's out there. And I'm not talking about those people. They're basically just doing a low-carb diet with a lot of red meat. Talking about the people who actually legitimately think they can get all their vitamins and minerals from animals. You know what? I threw some stuff up. I went over to Chronometer before I made this video. You guys can do this yourself. I put in 2 pounds of sirloin steak, so we didn't go for the leanest cut. It's pretty lean. 2 pounds of sirloin steak. I threw in a pound of chicken thighs, and just because we need dairy, right? I do not think dairy is optional for anyone. Anyone who tells you not to consume any dairy, they're an idiot. I would disregard anything that they say. Dairy is not optional. It's the one thing I will say. The one reason I'll say that a vegetarian diet can still be viable. They can be optimal if they get enough dairy. They choose not to include meat. Not the end of the world. Dairy, arguably better. Arguably. So I threw in 4 cups of whole milk also, right? There were 5 vitamins that were deficient. And by deficient, I mean some of them were at 0. And they were all severely deficient. Severely deficient. And it was, I believe, A, C, E, K. And there was something else in there. All right, these are all necessary. Now, the same people we can get our vitamin A from liver. Yeah, but animal source vitamin A has an easy toxicity level that can hurt you. You have to be careful how much of it you eat daily. It can actually harm you. So again, and that's a real thing. Yeah, and too much liver can actually cause gout. So not necessarily your best option. It was also deficient in 2 minerals. It was also deficient in omega-3 and omega-6 fats. That's a lot of meat. That's 3 pounds of meat plus a bunch of milk. There's like 500 calories of milk in there, which without the milk, by the way, the diet would have been deficient in calcium and magnesium. And I believe it might have been close to deficient on potassium. I would have to go double check that. So the milk was necessary to even bring it up remotely close, but it's still dangerously deficient. And then we get into this whole issue of everything you need for health. All right, set aside your conspiracy theories. And I'm not against all conspiracy theories, mind you. I'm not going to ever make this channel about that. I certainly believe in some. But the idea that you think the science is trying to convince you to eat plants to harm you, I'm not talking about pushing veganism. The idea that eating plants is harmful, the scientific literature, this would require the entire nutrition world and medical doctors to all be conspiring together to harm you. Because at this point, the epidemiology and laboratory evidence both showing that large amounts of plant foods has an enormously positive effect on cardiovascular disease, cancer. Those are our two biggest killers in America, by the way. Those are our two biggest killers, and no one's getting cardiovascular disease and cancer because they're eating too much broccoli. Okay, that's not happening. It's the double bacon cheeseburgers with French fries and a high fructose corn syrup soda chasing it all down. Okay, there's your culprit. It's not vegetables. But this idea that a low vegetable diet will ever be optimal for health is disputed by the research in the areas all over the world. Okay, and we're talking again, enormous impacts on cardiovascular disease, almost every form of cancer. Different plants are associated with reducing risk in different types of cancers, because cancer's dozens of different diseases. It's not just one thing. They're all in the same category. Metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, all these things. How about inflammation? Any sort of inflammatory disease, which would be arthritis, be one. My psoriasis is one. My Meniere's disease one. I have two autoimmune diseases technically. Right? A lot of plants positively impact these things. And do you know what hurts them? This is kind of our problem we run into with red meat and saturated fat. Saturated fat is pro-inflammatory. Now, granted, deep keto diets can reduce inflammatory markers for a short time, but that's deep keto. But then we have all these other problems with it. Still going to cause heart disease in the long term due to atherosclerosis because your LDL goes up. And there's pretty strong evidence for the situation there. So this idea that you don't need all these plants and that you don't need fiber or all the phytonutrients and polyphenols found in all these fruits, vegetables, nuts, right? It's ludicrous. The evidence for the health benefits to these things are overwhelming. Your diet should be plant heavy no matter what approach you take. If you choose to be meat heavy or not, it's optional. I don't think we need to be that meat heavy. I'd rather see dairy. For me, meat's turned into a thing that I enjoy eating, and I have red meat a couple times a week. But I do mostly dairy these days. But I'm not cutting my beef out. But I eat it in moderation. Not a big deal. But again, this is absolutely ludicrous. And you would essentially have to be scientifically illiterate or ignore the entire enormous body of evidence on all these different medical conditions to make that statement. It's profoundly ignorant. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.